I can share some of my experience in when I attend some conference. People claim themselves to be like a security expert, but what do they come from? What kind of qualification or credential they have? Zero. They only say they used to work for big companies, and then they try to pitch something that is really just like some magazine write-up. Okay, anything that I can easily find on the internet. So our certification, our credentials is very important for any employers like me, or any enterprise-like recruitment like managers, to have a very objective, very quantifiable measures against any people claim to be a security expert.
It is extremely important. I mean, but that does not negate the need for having, like I would say, the traditional education system that we have, and because that also provides you with the skills. The advantage that certification brings, or at least a professional certification brings, is that it actually takes into account what the current requirements are in terms of the industry, what skill sets are required, and then like at least for from IC Squared's perspective, I mean, we actually do a job task analysis for information security professionals before we actually come up with the exam. So the exam actually reflects what the market needs, and so I think that's where the international certifications, do bring that advantage or the benefit to the employers and also to the individuals.
First of all, we can look at this question from two angles. One is on the money terms, and the second angle is on one thing very critical called ethics or integrities. On money terms, Europeans, Americans are very expensive, and they actually keep on promoting their service to Asia. Okay, some have good qualification and good credential like us, but in Chinese we can find some similar things. But the critical matter is whether they have the good ethics or integrities. So we need to find some way to control or to measure the ethics. It could be some sort of like formal training that we can build up or develop the ethic mindset.
I would not agree with that. I mean, because if you look at that's where again an international certification acts as a leveling ground, because everyone's taking the same exam irrespective of their background. Obviously, when you look at the skill sets for an information security professional, it depends on the exposure he's had. Say, for example, like the CISSP CBK, I mean, it covers 10 domains, from physical security to access controls to telecommunications, cryptography. So it is a very widespread. And our credential holders, irrespective of where they are, when they take the exam, they are able to actually establish that they have met a minimum requirement, which is internationally accepted. Now, in terms of whether local professionals are preferred to overseas or overseas to locals, I think it then boils down to the money issue, and it's that again is reflected in the outsourcing industry. I mean, why is software development outsourced to some of the markets in Asia? Why are call centers outsourced? It again is it's because they are able to tap into the same human resource or the same skill set of people, but at a lower cost. So I think cost would be the only factor, but I don't see any difference in terms of local professionals being less or more competent than the overseas. If you look at the role of an information security professional, he is dealing with data, and research has shown that if there's a breach of data or if there's a breach within an organization, it can cause a lot of damage to reputation and also to future business. Not to mention it can cause also damage in terms of fines that you may have to pay. So when you look at that, the skill set of the professional, depending on the job function he is actually performing, again is a function of the industry within which he is operating in. So that's very important. The other thing is he needs to be a very ethical person. He's got access to everything, and it's very important that the person that you have is someone that can be trusted, and that's why even like with IC Squared, we have what we call the code of ethics, and it is all our credential holders are required to actually abide by the code of ethics. In fact, even if you have a criminal record prior to taking the exam, you're not allowed to take the exam. So we pay, we lay a lot of emphasis on the ethical behavior of the professional, and also on making sure that he actually continues to update himself in terms of skill set. Because when you're looking at the IT sector, it keeps changing from day to day. So you need to actually be abreast with technology.
Okay, that actually comes to that question: how often should a person get updated to stay relevant in info security?
As often as he can, and that again boils down to the nature of the individual. I mean, there are some people who would think, okay, I've done my degree, I've done my, and you don't spend the time and the effort to actually constantly upgrade your skills or to keep yourselves up to date. So there's no minimum or the maximum. I mean, there's no magic pill. But with our credentials, I mean, what we do is we require that our credential holders maintain a certain number of CPEs, which is basically continuing professional education credits, over a 3-year period, which is the certification cycle. And not only that, they have to maintain also a certain number every year. So it's not like, at the end of 3 years, you find, okay, wow, my certification is going to expire, and then you spend the next month just trying to attend courses to get the CPs. It doesn't work that way. It has to be over a period of time, and not just once in 3 years.